A full moon drive and feeling alive. It's Rhyme and Reason 845.
Here's your rhyme and reason. Oh, yeah.
Hey there, Tony here. Close your eyes and picture Tucson, Arizona, central New Mexico. Music, moonlight, Dan Fogelberg, storytelling. All of those are parts of my life on the road from a long time ago. And early this morning, I thought about an incredible singular experience I had during a full moon drive. Strangely enough, it was a motion sensor light that triggered that full moon memory. And you're going, huh? A motion sensor light in a full moon drive? Yeah, I got out of bed and started to get dressed in the dark, just as I always do, because a beautiful wife should have all the beauty sleep she can get. So flipping on the overhead light would just be rude and totally uncalled for, and I'm nothing if not considerate and called for. Anyway, as I dressed, the motion sensor light in back of the house suddenly lit up and seeped through the window blinds. It wasn't as bright as the overhead bedroom light would have been, but it definitely gave the room a sort of a moonlit glow. And I thought, hey, motion sensor light, and it came on. Couldn't be me because I'm not outside. So I peeked out the window to be sure there were no prowlers or ferocious animals that I would have to go out and slay. You know, no intruders, no, there weren't any in sight. Probably just a bird flying by that triggered the light. That's what I figured. Anyway, so I finished dressing and went to the kitchen to brew some wake-up elixir, as I always do. And as I measured out the dark roasted coffee beans and drew the pure water from our gravity filter, I kept thinking of how that fluorescent light reminded me of that full moon drive years and years and years and years ago. That memory of the wavy road in the wee winter hours reminded me of when I first learned about metaphors and similes in school. My English composition book shared examples of each, and one of the examples of a metaphor, I always remember this, was the road was a ribbon of light. I remember thinking, hey, I'm on that road all these years later when I was on that road lit up by the full moon. So anyway, let's get back to that drive, okay? Well, first, another little side note. Dan Fogelberg released his 8th album, it was called Windows and Walls, in 1984. And that just coincidentally, not so much, happened to be the year that I took that full moon drive. And one song was called Tucson, Arizona Gazette. He said he wrote the song based on a story he read in that paper. And the song is a little over 8.5 minutes long, which is very long for a radio song. But if you like Spanish-sounding guitar riffs and percussion, I know I do, the song certainly doesn't feel long. Anything but. And that's the song I played several times over as I drove my little blue Toyota pickup through the cold New Mexico night in the wee hours on a secondary highway heading north towards I-40 in the middle of New Mexico. And the full moon reflected on the road, and there were basically no other cars coming toward me. And come to think of it, you know, it's a good thing there was nobody else doing the same thing I was. Although it was bright enough moon, I think I would have seen them. Anyway, so I turned off my headlights and skimmed across that little ribbon of light, that road. I could see almost as easily without the headlights because the reflection from the road, it kind of seemed to amplify and magnify the moonlight. And it was exhilarating. I even rolled my windows down a little bit, and this is winter time. So wintertime in New Mexico, that part of New Mexico especially, is brisk, to say the least. And it was a sensory experience I'm never going to forget, I'm sure of that, unless I totally lose my mind, and God willing, that won't happen. And all these years later, something else comes to mind, though. None of that experience, nor any others like it, could ever happen without the love of God. Uh-oh, there he goes again, right? But it's true, because without him, there would just be darkness and void. In fact, he inspired Moses to describe the light he made for us. So Moses wrote this: "Then God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. Think about that. Those lights rule. You and I have zero control over whether the sun and moon will shine or not. So, in a sense, they rule their light over us. Day will be lit up by the sun, and moon lights the nights. Well, the stars too, but the main light is the moon at night. And those lights in the sky are indicators of how important light is to God. And then when you go to the other end of the Bible, that was Moses writing in Genesis at the left side of the Bible, the front, you discover that in heaven, there won't be a sun and moon. What? If light is so important to him, why would heaven have no sun or moon? Simple, my little grasshopper. Yet almost impossible to imagine. But here's how it'll happen. God will be the light. And that ribbon of light will wrap around anyone who chooses to be there, and that includes you, right? If not, consider taking a full moon drive out west the next chance you get, and turn off your headlights. And think about what could happen if you accidentally ended up in a ditch because you missed something on the road. And think about if you ended up like Tony and Mary in Dan Fogelberg's song, Tucson, Arizona Gazette. Where would you go or be? Huh? What's that? You don't know how Tony and Mary ended up in Dan Fogelberg's song, Tucson, Arizona Gazette? You ought to give it a listen. It wasn't good. Not a happy ending. I hope you would want to ride the ribbon of light to heaven. That's what I hope for you. But, that can only happen if you've already chosen wisely before you die. Otherwise, you could just be another side story in a small newspaper. And Dan won't write a song about you because he left this planet years ago. Yeah, he died. He's gone. And even I might not be around to write a song about you. I might not even know who you are. So don't put it off. Choose your creator, and you'll feel and be more alive than you can imagine. You can thank me later. You can thank me now if you want to. I'll wait. All right. Enough of that. Thank you so much for tuning in to this introspective episode of Rhyme and Reason, brought to you, as always, by TonyFunderburk.com, where you can go over there and get merch, such as uncool t-shirts and stuff like that. And you can get music, you can get books. I recommend getting something like the Amen Songbook Journal. It's a songbook with lyrics that go to the songs, which there's a link inside the book to download those songs at no extra charge. Just the cost of the book gets you that. And that's why the book is not a $1 book, by the way. And let's see, in that, you can also write your own thoughts because it's also a journal. So there you go, the Amen Songbook Journal. Brought to you also by TonyFunderburk.com, where you'll always hear me say, or oftentimes when I think about it, which is oftentimes, life has rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a rhyme and reason.